From WNEP, the news station. This is 2025, a look back.
Good evening, I'm Jeremy Lewan. This year has been an exciting one for stargazers. As 2025 draws to a close, we take a look back at the year's biggest celestial events across northeastern and central Pennsylvania in this Skywatch 16 special. It started with a rare 7-planet alignment. For the entire month of February, 6 of the 7 planets were visible simultaneously. It was an event sometimes called a planetary parade, when 4 or more planets line up in the sky at once. On the evening of February 28th, we were able to see all 7 other planets in our solar system in the sky at one time. It sometimes doesn't happen for decades. Planetary alignments are beautiful to look at, but can also help when launching spacecraft. By utilizing the gravitational pull of well-placed planets to slingshot scientific spacecraft on more efficient trajectories, travel time through space can be reduced dramatically. NASA used a planetary alignment in the 1970s to slingshot the Voyager 2 spacecraft to the outer limits of our solar system, cutting travel time from 30 years to just 12. If you missed this year's, the next planetary alignment with 5 or more planets won't be until October 2028. In March, we were treated to not just 1, but 2 eclipses across northeastern and central Pennsylvania. Through the overnight hours into March 13th, through March 14th, we saw a total lunar eclipse that caused the full worm moon to turn blood red. That is due to the Earth blocking the sun's light from hitting the moon, causing a reddish shadow to be cast on the moon's surface. Eclipses always come in pairs, so 2 weeks later, on March 29th, the moon was on the other side of the orbit, moving in front of the sun and blocking some sunlight from reaching the Earth's surface. This caused a partial solar eclipse, visible here in the United States and elsewhere. Here in northeastern and central Pennsylvania, the maximum eclipse resulted in about 5 to 20% coverage of the sun's disk. It looked like a small bite had been taken out of the sun on the left side. Here in Pennsylvania, the next one will be in August of next year. The next total solar eclipse for Pennsylvania, where the moon completely covers the sun, won't be until 2079. Back in April, NASA launched 2 new spacecrafts in the same rocket. We sat down with the NASA scientists to break down what we may be able to learn from those 2 new missions.
Mission. Liftoff of the Falcon 9. Go SpaceX, go Spherex, go Punch.
After several delays, a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket carried 2 new pieces of highly anticipated scientific equipment from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California to the Earth's lower orbit, several hundred miles above the surface of our planet. 2 missions called Spherex and Punch were launched at the same time so NASA could use its resources more efficiently. Hi. Nice to meet you. I interviewed NASA scientist Dr. Tzu-Ching Chang, who has been working on the Spherex project for a decade.
I'm the senior research scientist at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and I am a co-lead on the galaxy formation investigation in Spherex.
We already have 2 telescopes in space. We have James Webb, we also have the Hubble. What makes Spherex different?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as you know, James Webb and Hubble are very powerful, large telescopes that give us amazing images of a very small patch of the sky. But Spherex will have a very wide field of view and allowing us to understand the bigger picture of the universe. And it is really very complementary. And if Spherex finds any interesting object during its all-sky survey, we could follow up with James Webb or Hubble to understand more about the universe.
Great, so this will give us a wider picture. Webb
Exactly.
and Hubble will give us that up-close picture to understand that wider picture better.
Exactly, yes.
Got it.
Dr. Chang explained that Spherex will allow us to view the universe in 3D and through what she calls rainbow-colored glasses. In addition to being able to catalog galaxies using the 7 colors of visible light, Spherex will disperse incoming light in the near-infrared range of the electromagnetic spectrum into 102 different colors. We will discover corners of space that we have never seen before, potentially increasing our chances of finding life elsewhere. Will Spherex help us to find more solar systems that are like ours?
And water actually comes from space in the form of water ice. So Spherex will conduct a survey to look for the signatures of water ice or carbon dioxide or other biogenic ingredients in our own galaxy.
The fleet of 4 Punch spacecrafts, each about the size of a suitcase, will help us analyze the solar corona, the sun's outer atmosphere. and will enable us to better understand and predict space weather, like solar flares and auroras. With our sun in a phase of heightened activity, it's possible NASA could collect especially valuable data as soon as the end of the year.
Punch will be looking towards the sun, observing our own star, while Spherix will look away from the sun and observe everything else in the universe. So the timing of both missions are very similar too. So NASA has been done a very careful planning so that we could launch together, and it is really cost effective to get twice the science in one launch.
An update from NASA: all 4 spacecraft of the Punch mission successfully maneuvered into their final orbits as of August 7th. And Spherix settled into orbit since the summer as well, and has been delivering its sky survey data to a public archive on a weekly basis. For more information on where to access Spherix's science data, head to WNEP.com. Lots more to come on this Skywatch 16 look back. We'll be right back. A high school in Luzerne County was chosen as the state winner in a competitive STEM challenge sponsored by NASA. We spoke with the young innovators about their achievement. The team of 5 juniors from Greater Nanticoke Area High School beat out every other school in Pennsylvania to be the state winners of the NASA Tech Rise Student Challenge. They earned a $1,500 grant to bring their idea to life.
I was really excited to just know that all of our brainstorming and hard work and everything just paid off.
The team credits their teacher, Mr. Fleury, who sparked their interest in STEM.
My love, of course, is physics and engineering. I was able to start a STEM class.
From that class came a STEM club.
And this year I had a few students approach me asking if they could start a STEM club. I was very thrilled, and they decided they wanted to get involved with some kind of competition. So it was probably October or so that we really started working on it. We had to submit a proposal to NASA, and that was due in early November. And we were able to get that in on time, and I feel we did a really good job, and I guess NASA thought so too, because they selected it for the Pennsylvania winner.
The cohort dove deep into every facet of STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and math, learning how to write computer code, 3D design and print, and video production in order to submit their proposal.
Overall, it wasn't that bad. We all put in our work, took the time to submit it on my birthday, actually.
The challenge? Design an experiment that uses a helium balloon to carry something 70,000 feet into the atmosphere, nearly to space.
I came up with the idea of using soil, and his touch was using different kinds of soil, and he came up with Martian soil.
The team acquired 3 different kinds of volcanic soil that mimic the characteristics of Martian soil.
We can, measure the bacteria, measure the microbial life, see what dies, what doesn't, and if anything does die, what was the cause of it? Hopefully helping us to determine, what is it that's we're having trouble with kind of keeping life on Mars and sustaining that.
So are you going to send a mixture of the
We're going to
3?
send all 3 that we're
all
using.
All 3 like this? Okay.
Yeah.
They configured a payload, or scientific module with a container holding the soil, and a myriad of instruments to measure data.
This will slide in perfectly between that Geiger counter, and it leaves room for the UV sensor, because this is the face that is exposed from the actual gondola to the sun.
So we figured that if we can take any sort of food and sustain that on Mars, we're steps and steps forward to one day hopefully colonizing Mars.
I think it's very important that teams see what Nanticoke and Pennsylvania and what we're all about, and that we're actually doing something that could be very beneficial to humanity.
Young minds coming together to make science fiction feel closer to science fact. We recently invited the team from Nanticoke to WNEP to follow up with them after their experiment returned back to Earth.
To our surprise, when we received the box back from the Tech Rise people, you could see there was some damage to it. And I called to confirm. They said it did have a rough landing. We took a risk. The front, rather than being made of polycarbonate it blocks ultraviolet radiation, and we didn't want that. We needed our soils to be exposed to the ultraviolet, so we opted for an acrylic window. When we got it back, we did our best to secure the soils and try to measure what we could.
The students attempted to grow pea plants in the soil that returned, but they were unable to determine if the crack in the acrylic box contaminated the soil.
We feel as if though our results were inconclusive, and we need to do more research as to figure out whether we could grow plants on Mars.
Mr. Fleury and his students are entering the Tech Rise competition again for the 2025-2026 school year. This time, experiments will be able to ride share on a suborbital spaceship. Skywatch 16 was born out of our viewers' deep fascination with the sky. Judging by all the photos we receive, the moon seems to captivate us the most. But it's not just us. People around the world celebrate our lunar neighbor. You might have noticed many of the country's flags feature a similar celestial design, a star and a crescent moon. But that bright star seen in the night sky next to our moon is actually more often a planet, like the red planet Mars. This specific duo has mesmerized humans since ancient times. Over the summer, on June 29th, the waxing crescent moon and Mars appeared in the western sky above our region, less than a fifth of a degree apart. The couplet appeared to be almost touching, close enough to fit within a single field of view of a telescope. It was even visible to the naked eye, or through a pair of binoculars. We'll have more of our Skywatch look back ahead. 2024 and 2025 have provided some of the most vibrant auroras for the northern United States this decade so far, and we just had a wonderful showing in mid-November. The sun is in what's called a solar maximum, which means the likelihood of solar activity and subsequent strong auroras is high. And from every corner of our viewing area, you have sent in your dazzling photos of the stunning celestial displays. And of course, the closer you are to the poles, the better views you saw. So let's start up in the northern tier, where I want to highlight one picture from Granville Summit. Wow, what a picture this is, with the reds and greens perfectly detailed there. And not only can you see these reds and greens, but you can also see these kind of beams of rays in the auroras. Now, the different colors are indicative of what element the solar radiation is interacting with. So when you see reds and pinks, that indicates interaction with oxygen molecules high up in the altitudes of the atmosphere. Now, if you see the greens, that's same oxygen, but it's being interacted with at lower levels. I want to show you this picture down in the Skook. This one came in from Tower City. Love this picture of the reds and greens detailed there in the auroras. Also staying in Schuylkill County, let's go to Pottsville, and I want to detail this picture because it shows a different color pattern. These blues and purples indicate ionized nitrogen, or that solar radiation interacting with nitrogen molecules at lower levels of the atmosphere. Great capture there. All right, out towards the west. These two pictures came in from Darlene and Snyder County. Love both of them. Thank you, Darlene, for sending those in. Up towards the northeastern part of Pennsylvania. This one is from Lisa in Knoxon. And I want to showcase this because this is really what it looks like with our eyes, right? That muted red and green, not as beautifully captured as what our night shift mode on our cameras can capture. All right, up to the northern part of Lackawanna County. I love this one from Blakely. Perfect pink and greens. Thank you for sending that one in, Kim and Bonnie. And I'll end with one here in Williamsport because it's just so special. This was taken by Rudy. He lives in Williamsport, but he was in Alaska, 40 miles to the north of Anchorage, and he just captured such beautiful, vibrant greens of the northern lights. Thank you so much, Rudy, for sending that in, and from all of our viewers who sent in these photos from across the area. As you can see, so many of our viewers loved the auroras across northeastern and central Pennsylvania, and of course beyond. Coming up on Newswatch 16, we speak with an expert about a mission that will help us forecast these auroras better in the future. NASA and NOAA launched a groundbreaking trio of space missions in September, set to deepen our understanding of the sun's influence and protect Earth from the constant flow of solar activity. All three of them headed to a special spot in space called the Sun-Earth Lagrange Point 1, a gravitational balancing point about 1 million miles from Earth, where spacecraft can hover between Earth and the Sun. The satellites that are currently in place to warn us of dangerous solar activity are failing. Sean Dahl, a service coordinator and senior space weather forecaster, says these new missions should vastly improve the ability to forecast space weather.
Of course, the SWIFL L1, the Space Weather Follow-On mission, is the most important for us because that is the world's first dedicated operational space weather satellite sitting at the Lagrange Point 1 that you're talking about. So SWIFL L1 is extremely vital to us because it's going to give us very modern technology observational equipment to measure solar wind and magnetic fields and energetic particles that come from the sun. The other two are going to help in that science.
IMAP will help by mapping the heliosphere, the protective bubble around our solar system that shields us from interstellar radiation, delivering near real-time solar wind data, enabling scientists to predict impactful space weather events. The Carothers Geocorona Observatory will track how the Earth's outer atmosphere reacts to solar activity. I asked Sean if these new missions will help us to more accurately forecast auroras.
Yes, Jeremy, that is the hope. Magnetically, solar wind speed, what the orientation of the magnetic field is. Find that out when it arrives at that satellite 1 million miles from Earth. So at that point, it's 15 minutes to an hour away.
The instrumentation will also give current and future astronauts more lead time when dangerous radiation is on the way. With this launch, scientists hope to give us earlier warnings and a better understanding of the sun's powerful influence on our planet. This August, 2 full moons happened under the same month, under the darkness of night. It's called a black moon. A black moon is the lunar opposite of a blue moon. Instead of 2 full moons, it's 2 new moons in 1 calendar month. Since new moons are invisible from Earth, this celestial event often slips by unnoticed, unless you're keeping track. That double new moon setup happens once only about every 2.5 years. But astronomers actually recognize 3 kinds of black moons. Along with 2 new moons in 1 month, a black moon can also be the 3rd new moon in a season that has 4, which only happens occasionally due to the way the lunar cycle lines up with the calendar. That's what happened this year. The 2025 summer season had 4 new moons happening on June 25th, July 24th, August 23rd, and September 21st. While there's not much to see, the night of a black moon and a few days before and after are perfect for astronomers because no moonlight means darker skies, perfect for spotting constellations, the Milky Way, or even meteor showers. Remember, there are 3 types of black moons, and here's a listing of the next ones on the calendar. The next black moon we will have is a 2nd new moon within the same month, and that happens on August 31st, 2027. The first new moon that month happens on August 2nd and actually coincides with a very special eclipse, the 2nd longest total solar eclipse of the 21st century. The moon will completely cover the sun for nearly 6.5 minutes over parts of Europe and Africa, including Luxor, Egypt. The next black moon that falls under the category of a 3rd new moon in a season with 4 new moons is slightly more than a year later, on August 20th, 2028. Finally, when February has no full moon at all, it's also called a black moon. The last one occurred in 2018. The next will be in 2037. Our Skywatch Look Back continues next on Newswatch 16. If you're out stargazing this winter, you may notice a small sparkling cluster rising just above the constellation of Orion. It's one of the most famous star groups in the night sky, sometimes called the Seven Sisters. High above the horizon on crisp autumn nights, a shimmering cluster of blue-hued stars begins to appear. Known as the Pleiades or Seven Sisters, these stars have been celebrated in myths and calendars for thousands of years. The Pleiades mark more than just a beautiful sight. Their return to the night sky around late October has long signaled the changing seasons. For ancient cultures, their arrival near Halloween was seen as a celestial sign that winter was coming. The cluster is part of the constellation Taurus the Bull and lies more than 400 light years from Earth. Despite having over 1,000 stars, only 6 or 7 are typically visible to the naked eye. The ancient Greeks imagined them as sisters, the daughters of Atlas, the titan who held up the sky, and Pleione, the goddess who watched over sailors. Indigenous groups from the Americas to Australia wove them into seasonal legends. The ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, which marked the thinning of the veil between the living and the dead, was closely linked to the Pleiades. The star cluster reached its peak around October 31st, the same time as Samhain, which later evolved into what we celebrate today as Halloween. The Pleiades will shine through the winter months, best seen into the evening, but they'll be visible through April, so there's still plenty of time to spot them. That wraps up our Skywatch 16 special here on Newswatch 16. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, Skywatch 16 airs every last Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. right here on Newswatch 16. We can't wait to see what the night sky has in store for us in 2026. Have a great night and keep looking up.